Good morning, everyone. This is the second part of our lecture on molecular rearrangement. And in the previous part, we have discussed the migration, molecular rearrangement on the electron deficient carbon and electron deficient nitrogen. So these two categories we have already discussed in the previous lecture. Now the remaining molecular rearrangement reactions we will discuss in this part of the lecture. So we have seen that the molecular rearrangement reactions, they can be intermolecular rearrangement, they can be intramolecular rearrangement, and we can classify all of them on the basis of the migration origin and migration terminus. So on these basis, these reactions can be divided into five groups. We have rearrangement to electron deficient carbon, rearrangement of electron deficient nitrogen, rearrangement to electron deficient oxygen, sigmatropic rearrangement, and other rearrangement reactions. Among these five categories, the first two categories we have already discussed, and the remaining three we will discuss in this lecture. So let us continue our discussion with rearrangement reactions in which electron deficient oxygen is involved. Now, this becomes an interesting factor that how the oxygen, which is quite electronegative in nature, it becomes electron deficient. So, in this category, when the oxygen becomes electron deficient, the rearrangement reactions that taken place, they are known as Bayer vinegar oxidation, cumene hydroperoxide phenol reaction, and Dakin reactions. So, these three reactions we will discuss in this category. First of all, let us see the Bayer vinegar oxidation reaction. So, here in this reaction, the ketone, the starting compound is the ketone, and on treatment with the per acid, it gives ester by oxy insertion. Oxy insertion is the insertion of oxygen containing group, and after the oxy insertion reaction, when we are treating the ketone, the reaction gives us substituted ester, and the reaction takes place in the presence of acid catalyst. So this is particularly useful for the synthesis of lactones. This is the reaction. This is a ketone, and this is per acid. In the per acid, we have one oxygen more than the original one. So in the generally in the carboxylic acid, what do we have? R, C, O, and OH. But this one extra oxygen that is present in this acid, we call it the per acid. So in the when you are using the per acid, this extra oxygen, what it will do? This is the per acid molecule, and this is the ketone. So this per acid, it will form what type of anion? The H plus is removed from it, right? Because it is an acid. So the negative ion generated after the per acid, it will attack on the nucleophilic carbon. It will attack on the carbonyl carbon, which it becomes partially positively charged. And when the anion attacks on that carbon, this type of intermediate is generated. Then finally, after the rearrangement, what happens? This R, this H is removed, and now finally we get an ester as a product. So, what is the mechanism of this reaction? Let us see. This is the ketone. This is the one alkyl group, and this is another. So we have differentiated them from R and R1. Now this is the per acid molecule, and as I told you, the hydrogen, it will be removed in the form of proton, and this acidic anion, it will attack on the nucleophilic carbon. Now this nucleophilic carbon is what? It is partially positive in nature because the oxygen of the carbon, it is withdrawing constantly the electrons towards it. So on this partial positive carbon, the attack of the per acid anion takes place. Now after the attack, what will happen? You get one OH, because the hydrogen that is removed here, it will attach with the carbonyl oxygen. So now it is OH, and this is the per acid anion attached on the tetrahedral carbon. So after the rearrangement has taken place, now what will happen now? The R and OR dash, they are formed. This is the ester molecule, and one acid molecule is generated from the per acid. So from the per acid, we are getting acid, and one oxygen, it is added to the ketone. So what is the difference between the substrate and product? Only presence of one oxygen is there. So you get an ester here. So this is type of oxidation when the oxygen has been inserted. So we are also calling it as oxy insertion, insertion of one oxygen atom, and that takes place in the presence of per acid. So this reaction is very important for the synthesis of leptones. And the first step is what? Addition of the peroxy acid to the carbonyl carbon, leading to a tetrahedral intermediate. Then in the next step, a concerted migration of the migrating group and the loss of carboxylic acid provides you the product. The mechanism is supported by the fact that oxidation of pH2C18O, it yields only pH C18OOPH. So there is no scrambling of oxygenating level in the product, right? This oxygen is not migrating anywhere. So if you are taking the carbon 18 here, so carbonyl group will remain intact in the product also. The loss of the carboxylates and migration of R is concerted. So as the reaction is known to be faster when the electron withdrawing substituents are present in the leaving group and electron donating substituents are present in the migrating group. So in that case, you can expect the reaction to be very fast, because when the electron withdrawing substituent is present in the leaving group. So what is the leaving group? This per acid will be the leaving group, right? So electron withdrawing substituent, they will make the group to leave fast, right? And when the electron donating group are in the migrating group, say, so in that case they will be migrating in a quicker fashion. So that facilitates the overall reaction of Baeyer vinegar oxidation. Now, if the migrating group is chiral, then the stereochemistry will be retained. And if we are talking about the unsymmetrical ketones, it is as a tertiary, then cyclohexyl, then secondary group, then benzyl group, then ethyl, then primary, and finally the methyl group. So, in the case of the aryl group, the migrating ability is increased by electron donating groups present on the ring, and migration is favored when the migrating group is anti-periplanar to the oxygen-oxygen bond of the leaving group. This is known as the primary stereoelectronic effect. Primary stereoelectronic effect when the migration is favored when migrating group is anti-periplanar. So this is the primary effect. Anti-periplanar alignment of the lone pair of electrons on the oxygen and oxygen bond with the migrating group is termed as the secondary stereoelectronic. So you have two type of stereoelectronic effects here. One is the primary stereoelectronic effect, another is the secondary stereoelectronic effect. You call it primary electronic effect when the group is anti-periplanar to the leaving group, and you call it a secondary group when the lone pair of the electron and oxygen, they are actually aligning themselves with respect to the migrating group. So in the case of unsaturated ketones, the epoxidation is likely to be a competitive reaction, and epoxidation is a you can see in this reaction, this is the epoxidation of the molecule. So the Baeyer vinegar rearrangement is favored over the epoxidation because the ring strain can be relieved. Such type of epoxides, when they are formed, they are accompanied by so much of the ring strain. They can be relieved by the oxy insertion and ring expansion. Now, Baeyer vinegar oxidation of the unsaturated ketones when you have a double bond inside the ketone. So there are three possibilities. First is the peracid can selectively epoxidize. Second is the peracid can selectively carry out the Baeyer vinegar oxidation. And third possibility is it can carry out both the reaction, both the epoxidation as well as the Baeyer vinegar oxidation. So these three are the possibility. So it becomes really difficult if you want to predict the outcome, because the outcome also depend upon the electrophilic nature of the ketone and nucleophilic nature of the alkene. So if you have an alkene in the alkyl group, it will have nucleophilic nature. It will, because of the pi electrons present, it will seek for the nucleophile. And ketone, they are electrophilic because they have a positively charged carbon, so it is seeking for the electrons. So what will predominate on which? The tertiary group migrates in the presence of the secondary group, and alkene is not as reactive as expected because of the steric crowding. You can overlook the nucleophilic nature of the alkene because of the steric crowding, but tertiary group, if it is present there in the as an alkyl group in the ketone, then definitely it will migrate in preference to the secondary group. So these are the two key factors. Then starting material configuration is retained in the product that we have already seen. The reaction proceeds with the retention of the configuration. And small ring ketones, they will readily undergo the Baeyer-Villiger oxidation. Why? Because that imparts actually extra stability to them, because an extra oxygen is now added to the ring, so ring strain is relieved in this case. So small ring ketones, they are readily undergoing the Baeyer-Villiger oxidation. Now, second type of rearrangement is rearrangement of hydroperoxide, and these hydroperoxide, they can be cleaved in the presence of protic or Lewis acid. The reaction goes through the rearrangement, and this is the reaction we have. This is the hydroperoxides, and in the presence of the Lewis acid or proton, now what happens? One of the R group, it migrates and takes up the OH group, and the proton present, it is facilitating the reaction, and finally you get a ketone as a result of this. So what would be the possible mechanism? So let us see. This is the per acid. Then it is the oxygen. The electrons of the oxygen, they are actually attracted by the proton, presence of the proton, and this proton get attached on the oxygen finally, and then the electrons are moving in this direction so as to satisfy this formal positive charge. So the formal positive charge will move in the opposite directions in the carbon. So as a result of this, what will happen now? You will get the removal of the water molecule, and finally this tertiary carbocation becomes really stable in the presence of water. It is attacked by the water molecule because it is what? It is a strong nucleophile, so it attacks on the carbonyl carbon here. And now what happens? So the OH2 is attached here, and finally ROH is removed, and you get a ketone here. So this is a simple rearrangement of the hydroperoxides to give ketone, and the important steps of the mechanisms are what? First step is what? Protonation of the peroxide and removal of the molecule of water. This is the first step, protonation and removal of water. Then the second step is simultaneous shift of the migrating alkyl group to the electron deficient oxygen to give a rearranged carbocation. Then a third step is formation of hemiketal. This is the hemiketal. Formation of the hemiketal by the reaction of water, this is hemiketal, and which then breaks down to give alcohol and ketone. These are the four steps involved in the reaction. And alkyl group, it must be showing some sort of enchimeric assistance, and the rearrangement must be going through the benzonium ion in the case of cumene hydroperoxide phenol rearrangement. This is the reaction of cumene. This is cumene, and when the cumene performs a similar reaction, cumene hydroperoxide, so in that case, this type of rearrangement, it is accompanied by the formation of benzonium ion. A benzonium ion is formed as an intermediate when the cumene hydroperoxide and phenol rearrangement takes place. So this is cumene hydroperoxide and this is the phenol. Now another type of rearrangement is the Dakin reaction, and here the benzaldehyde or acetophenone bearing hydroxyl substituent in the ortho or para position. It proceeds the rearrangement to give the catechol or quinol. So they are known as what? This reaction is known as Dakin reaction. So hydroxy substituent, when they are in the ortho position, they give catechol. When they are in the para position, they give quinol. And the overall reaction is the Dakin reaction. So this reaction is performed in the presence of alkaline hydrogen peroxide, and the mechanism is again similar to the Baeyer-Villiger reaction. So this is the benzaldehyde. Sorry, this is the acetophenone, and the acetophenone reacting with the hydroxyl group present in ortho or para position, anywhere it could be present in the presence of NaOH, and hydroxy acid, the reaction is taking place and results into the formation of a hydroxy group, and RCO negative, that is carboxylate anion, is removed. So this Z group, its position actually determines whether we are getting the catechol or quinol. So in the when the, this Z group, this hydroxy group is if at the ortho position, then you get a catechol, and if it is in the para position, then you get a quinol. Let us see the mechanism here. So this is the HOOH, that is hydroperoxide, and B minus is your base. So when it reacts with the base, BH is formed, and this HOO negative ion, it attacks on the carbonyl carbon, being the nucleophile, it attacks on the positively charged carbonyl carbon, and then again it will be followed by the formation of tetrahedral intermediate, and then the electronic rearrangements are taking place according to these curved arrows. Yeah, the arrow pushings are showing the electronic movement, and finally it leads to the removal of one of the OH minus ion from here. Now the rearrangement reaction, they are giving this RCOO type of compound here, and this is what ester compound. And finally, when the hydrolysis is performed, you get a alcohol and carboxylic acid. When the ester is hydrolyzed, you get alcohol or and a carboxylic acid. So ortho and para hydroxyl group, they actually generate different type of compounds. So if you have at the ortho position, it is there, you get catechol, and when at the we have a para position with respect to that, it is what it is, quinol. This is the quinol, and this is catechol. The hydroxy group is present to the ortho position, and here hydroxy group is present to the para position. So both the benzaldehyde and acetophenone, they are known to give this reaction. This is known as Dakin reaction, and you can consider it as a very important molecular rearrangement reaction for the aromatic carbonyl groups, whether aromatic aldehyde or aromatic ketones. So, what is the special property of them? They all are lacking the alpha hydrogen atom. Now let us discuss some of the aromatic rearrangement reactions known. So the first is migration from oxygen to ring carbon, and in that category we include the Claisen rearrangement and Fries rearrangement. In the second category, we see the migration from nitrogen to the ring carbon. So from oxygen to ring carbon, and here from nitrogen to the ring carbon. So in this category, we have Hoffman-Marshall's reaction, then Fischer-Hepp rearrangement, we have Baumberger rearrangement, then benzidine and samidine rearrangement, Orton rearrangement, and NSO2CSO rearrangement. These are the categories included here. So let us see them one by one. The Claisen rearrangement, which is also a 3,3 sigma tropic shift, it is a type of pericyclic reaction, and they are simply characterized by the shifting of the sigma bond from one position to the other. So this type of shifting, when it involves the heteroatom in the ring, when the heteroatom is also involved, then you call it the Claisen rearrangement. So basically, you have aryl allyl ether involved in this case, and then you finally you get the gamma delta unsaturated aldehyde as a result of the Claisen rearrangement. So this is a 3,3 sigma arrangement. Like you can see, this sigma bond between the carbon and hydrogen, it is simply moving at this position. Nothing else has taken place, rather only the shifting of the sigma bond has taken place. And if you number the carbon atoms like this 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, so from their third position to third position, the carbon atoms are shifting from 1, 1 to 3, 3 position. So you call it a 3, 3 sigma tropic rearrangement. And here only carbon atoms except one oxygen, they are involved in the six-member transition state. So Claisen rearrangement, they are of two types. We have the Claisen rearrangement of allyl vinyl ether, and this is the Claisen rearrangement of allyl phenyl ether. The major difference would be the formation of two different products. And when we are taking the allyl vinyl ether, so in that case, when the heating is performed, the reaction is concerted in nature, and all the pericyclic reactions, they are having a concerted mechanism taking place through a cyclic transition state, and they simply accompanied by the replacement of this single bond, the sigma bond, towards a new position. So this is allyl vinyl ether in which the 3,3 sigma tropic shift is taking place. Now, when you take the allyl phenyl ether, in that case, again the sigma bond here it will be shifted from this position to this position. Other everything else would be the same. And finally, they will also lead to the formation of the hydroxide. So this is the mechanism proposed. So, as we know that all the pericyclic reactions, they are simply they are simply taking place due to the matching molecular symmetry of the frontier molecular orbitals, and as a result of this, during the reaction, it is a concerted reaction, not affected by the polar intermediates, not affected by the presence of any radical quencher, and they are simply affected by the heat or light. So they are followed by the formation of cyclic transition state. This is cyclic transition state, and finally at the end we are getting our product. If the ortho position is blocked, like you can see that all the migrations they are taking place at the ortho position in the aromatic system. So what if the ortho position is blocked? In that case, the rearrangement will continue to give the para product. So now the rearrangement would not stop, rather the product will form at the para position. But the major difference between the two things is that when you have the ortho position free for such type of sigma tropic shift, then if the ortho position is free, you will see the inversion of the configuration, right? But when the ortho position is blocked, then the rearrangement will take place twice. Like you can see there, see here first it will come to the ortho position, but because the ortho position is not free, again it will come to the para position. So the same type of attack is taking place two times, and therefore first it is observed with the inversion of the configuration, and second you will get the retention of the configuration. So if you want to have retention of configuration in your product, in that case you should block the ortho position during the Claisen rearrangement. Some other examples with different substrates are also taken here, and the simple difference is that there is a shifting of the sigma bond in a 3-3 position. That is the case. So how will you count the 3-3 position? So this is your 1 2 3, and this is 1 2 3. So 3-3 is this, right? So this entire product, this bond will break here, this bond will break, and it will come here at this position. This is your product. Again, let us see, this is 1 2 3 and 1 2 3. So your product will come here at this position. Similarly, all of them are showing the 3-3 sigma tropic shift. Then we have Fry's rearrangement. So the Fry's rearrangement is the reaction is shown by aryl esters with Lewis acid undergoes the rearrangement, and they give ortho and para keto substituted phenols. So this is the Fry's rearrangement and the complex between the ester and Lewis acid. It gives an acylium ion which reacts at the ortho and para positions in the Friedel-Crafts acylation. So this is the reaction of the aryl esters. You have an ester group here, COO, in which one of the R group is a phenyl group. This is the aryl ester, and in the presence of the Lewis acid and protic worker. Now, what you get at the end, the ortho and para keto substituted phenol. So this is the keto substituted. You have a ketonic group here, and at one of the R you have a phenol attached. So this is ketophenolic uh, ortho and para keto substituted phenols. And this is the para, and this is the ortho substituted ketophenol. So the possible mechanism is mentioned here. The reaction takes place in the presence of some Lewis acid. The Lewis acid can be any electron deficient compound, like it is shown here as AlCl3. So when the electron deficient compound it attacks on the electrons present on the oxygen in the carbonyl group, so in that case, the reaction started by formation of an unstable intermediate with your Lewis acid, and finally the rearrangement is taking place either on the ortho position or on the para position. So both could be formed once you have once the reaction is started. These two are the possibilities. So you get ortho and para products in different ratio. Then you also have a photofried reaction, and in this case, the only driving force is the radiant energy or photochemical energy, and in this case also you are getting the phenyl substitute, ortho and para keto substituted phenols. So the next is the Hoffman-Martius rearrangement, and it is also called as the rearrangement of N-alkyl aniline. So you have an aniline with an alkyl substituent over it. So N-alkyl aniline, you can see that on the nitrogen. This is the if you have the benzene group and NH2, then it is your aniline, and when one of the hydrogen is replaced by methyl, this is N-alkyl aniline. So these N-alkyl anilines, they, in the presence of acid at very high temperature, they are rearranged to ortho and para alkylated product. So the alkylation is performed here, and this alkyl group is removed from this position, and you can get ortho and para position blocked with the methyl group. So this type of rearrangement takes place in the presence of acid and very high temperature. Now let us see what is the mechanism of Hoffman-Martius rearrangement. So this is the N-alkyl anilide, and you can see that the reaction takes place in the presence of acid. So you have proton in the reaction mixture. These protons would be attracted by the lone pair of electron on nitrogen, so they will attack on them. And finally, there will be a unstable bond formation between the proton and nitrogen. So you have NHH and Me. These three are attached here, and the movement of the formal positive charge, it would be in the opposite direction to the electron. So the positive charge, it will come over the nitrogen. Now what happens? Because we have acid here, so we also have an anion here. So if we are taking the HCl, so apart from the H plus ion, we also have chloride ion in the reaction mixture. So the chloride ion, now they will attack on the positive charge on the nitrogen, and finally the electrons in the NMe bond, they are taken up by this, and the Me is removed by forming unstable complex with the chloride ion. Now, once the MECl is formed, now you know that chlorine is very electronegative, and it will withdraw the electron towards itself again. So now, and also we know that the amines, the NH2 group, it is ortho and para directing. Whenever it is attached on the benzene ring, it directs the incoming substituent towards para, towards ortho and para position, because at that position the electron density would be higher. So the coming Me will be going towards the either the ortho position or at the para position. And finally, after the resonance, one of the proton is removed again, and as a result, we get an equal mixture of ortho and para products. Then another reaction known as the Fischer-Hep rearrangement, and this is the rearrangement of N-alkyl N-nitroso-aniline. So again, we have anilines here, but now we also have a nitroso group attached on the aniline. So in the earlier case, we have seen that one was the methyl and one was the hydrogen on the aniline. Now we have one nitroso and one alkyl on the aniline, and they supply the nitrosonium ion, which react mainly at the para position in the intramolecular fashion to give the para-nitroso product. So this is the starting compound N-alkyl N-nitroso-aniline, and it supply the nitrosonium ion in the presence of the acid. And these nitrosonium ion N group, it can be combined on the ortho or para position. So what is the mechanism of this reaction? So this is the starting compound, right? You have an R group and NO attached to the amine nitrogen, and once the acid is present, now again the nitrogen electron, they will attract the proton present in the medium. This proton will come here, get attached to the nitrogen, and the nitrogen electrons, now nitrogen will be what? It will be containing the positive charge of the hydrogen, because the formal charge will move in the opposite direction. So now the positive charge will be there on the nitrogen, and finally the positive charges, they will be taken up by the nitroso group, and it is removed. So once the nitroso group is removed, now it has generated what? NO plus group. And now the NO plus, it can attack both at the ortho position and at the para position. So as a result, after the reaction, what happens? You see that this type of arrangement is much more feasible as compared to the ortho position, because now because the bulky group is there, you already have a methyl group here. So attack at the ortho position is very much hindered, and finally the major product will be the para product, because the attack on that position would be feasible due to the steric hindrance at the ortho position. Then we also have a, Bamberger rearrangement reaction, which is a rearrangement of N-aryl hydroxylamines. And the N-aryl hydroxylamines, you can see that this is a NHOH. So in the hydroxylamine NH2OH, we have one hydrogen on the nitrogen that is replaced by phenyl. So in the NH2OH, one hydrogen is phenyl group. We call them N-aryl hydroxylamine. In the presence of the acid, they show the rearrangement reaction to give aminophenols. This is aminophenol, and in this rearrangement, the conjugate acid of the hydroxylamine, it undergoes nucleophilic attack by the solvent. So let us see the mechanism, and this is your N-alkyl hydroxylamine. In the solvent, you have protons, and the proton will attack on the nitrogen electron. Finally, when the proton attacks over here, this will leads to the development of a positive charge over here, right? And this positive charge will specifically make the para carbon electron deficient, and therefore the nucleophile, that is water molecule, it attacks at the para position, and what you get a uh, uh, para aminophenol. So if what if the para position is already occupied, then where the attack will take place? It will take place at the ortho position. So hydrolysis followed by the dienone phenol type of the rearrangement occurs. And here you can see that this is the substituted N-alkyl phenol, and the para position is already occupied. Now what will happen when you already have a group on the para position? So let us see the mechanism once the proton is attacking over the OH. So H2O is removed, and finally you get a positive charge on the nitrogen, and the electronic rearrangement will make the para position, the carbon at the para position, as electron deficient. And now, since the electron is again, the carbon is electron deficient again, now the solvent molecule, which is a nucleophile, it will attack here, and you will get this type of transition state. Now, when the hydrolysis is performed, so what happens now? You get a ketonic group introduced at this position, and this is again your transition state. And finally, in the multiple steps, what you get at the end, you get a methyl substituted quinol. So this would be the product in case you have a para position already occupied. Then we have benzidine and famidine rearrangement. That is a rearrangement of hydrazobenzenes. So hydrazobenzenes, they undergo 5,5 sigma tropic rearrangement in the presence of acid to give benzidines, diphenylines, and samidines. So structure of the benzidine is this. This is benzidine, and when it undergoes the rearrangement reaction, this is what 5,5 sigma tropic rearrangement. So let us see the numbering here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at the end, this bond will be coming here, right? This is the simple thing that will take place. The bond is coming here at this position. This is a hydrazobenzene, and when in the presence of the proton, when it reacts, first you get a parabenzidine. This is the orthobenzidine. This is diphenylaniline, and parasamidine and orthosamidine. They are they are present during the reaction, and 5,5 sigma tropic rearrangement is taking place in the presence of them. So all the different type of starting compound, they are giving rise to different type of product. So let us see the first case, that is parabenzidine. So in the parabenzidine, this is your possible rearrangement, and now we see that it's a 5,5 sigma tropic shift. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These electrons are shifting at this position. Now what happens? From the initial product, the configuration of the from the initial reactant, configuration of the product would be just opposite. So now when the NH2 group was inside the molecule, now they're outside the molecule. So this is what 5,5 rearrangement. Similarly, in case of the formation of the orthobenzidine, 3,3 rearrangement has been seen, and in the formation of diphenylaniline, 3,5 rearrangement is seen. So this type of rearrangement is also possible. Formation of parasamidine, that is formed by the 1,5 rearrangement. Then formation of orthosamidine, that results from the 1,3 rearrangement. So these type of sigma tropic rearrangements are possible, and we know that they all follow through the cyclic transition state and not affected by any of the polar reagent or free radical quenches. Then we have Orton rearrangement, and here this is the rearrangement of n haloanides. We have n haloanides here with the nitrogen, one chloro group is attached, so you call it n haloanides. So the treatment of N-chloroacetanilide. This is acetanilide, and the hydrogen that was present in the acetanilide, it was replaced by the chlorine. So when you have N-chloroacetanilide and it reacts with the hydrochloric acid, affords a mixture of ortho and para-chloroacetanilide in the same proportion as directed as in the direct chlorination of the acetanilide. So when the rearrangement takes place in the presence of the HCl acid, now you get equal proportion of ortho and para chloro acetanilide. So the mechanism is this. This is your N-chloroacetanilide, and in the presence of the proton, because you are using the acid. So in the presence of proton, the oxygen electron, they are attracting the proton towards itself and getting attached over the attached with the oxygen. So a positive charge is developed over here, and now the chloride ion, because in the acid we also have chloride ion. So it is attacking on the oxygen atom containing the positive charge, and finally the rearrangement of the electron is taking place in such a manner that the chloro is removed from here. So once the chloro is removed from here, now it can attack on any of the position, the ortho position and the para position. And yeah, there are equal chances of attaining both the positions. So in the product mixture, we get both the products in equal amount in the same proportion. Other reaction known as rearrangement of N-aryl diazoanilines. So this is N-aryl. One of the N is containing aryl group, and diazo aniline. This is aniline and containing diazo group. So N-aryl diazoanilines, they undergo rearrangement in the presence of the acid to produce para-aryl diazenyl aniline. So this is the para-aryl diazenyl aniline, and the driving force is the presence of the acid, and the molecular rearrangement becomes very simple when the diazo group is moving to the para position with respect to the amine group. So on treatment with the acid, the aryl diazonium ion is formed, and this diazonium ion will do what? It will attack on the para position selectively, because both the groups are bulky, right? So it will attack on the para position, so no reaction takes place at the ortho position, that is due to the bulkiness of the group. And once the azo group attains the aryl azo group attains the para position, this is your exclusive product formed at the end of the reaction. Then we have rearrangement reactions to the electron rich carbon. So for the electron deficient carbons, we have seen so many rearrangement reactions, but in case of the electron rich carbon, now we will see them. This group of reaction has been less explored and is of less synthetic importance compared to the rearrangement of to the electron deficient carbon. So generally, these reactions can be explained by this type of reaction. You have RXC negative, and the rearrangement takes place, and now the negative charge is coming on the halogen, and the R group is coming to the carbon. So here X can be any electron deficient heteroatom, like it can be the nitrogen, it can be sulfur, oxygen, and Stephen rearrangement is one of such types. So quaternary ammonium salt, which has beta hydrogen, proceeds E2 Hoffman elimination with the base. This is quaternary ammonium salt, and here you also have a beta hydrogen attached to the nitrogen. So that beta hydrogen actually performs this reaction. It is eliminated in the presence of base, and once such type of elimination takes place, now the water molecule is removed, and alkene is formed, and tertiary amines are also formed. So in the case of the quaternary ammonium salt containing beta ketone or ester or allyl group, an alpha hydrogen is removed by the base to give it light, and then the rearrangement occurs. Mechanism of the reaction is shown here. So this is your quaternary ammonium salt. When it is attacked by the base, this base selectively abstracts the proton attached to the nitrogen atom, and when the proton is extracted, now there will be a positive charge there will be a negative charge on the carbon atom. So now it becomes what? It becomes electron rich carbon. Now it is showing the rearrangement reaction, and one of the alkyl group is taking up the positive charge of nitrogen and coming over the electron rich carbon. So this type of reaction takes place inside the solvent cage, and now this is the reaction. This is the rearrangement reaction, and in this manner the product is formed. It is the similar reaction, and this is example of this type of rearrangement. So the migration is taking place from this nitrogen quaternary ammonium salt to the carbon electron rich carbon. Then we have Somlet-Hauser rearrangement, and this is also a type of pericyclic reaction. In the absence of the beta carbonyl group, the alpha hydrogen is too weakly acidic for the hydroxide ion induced rearrangement. So when you do not have a beta carbonyl group, then the alpha hydrogen is what? It is too weakly acidic. The acidity is so low that you cannot remove it like this. When the acidity of the proton is low, then it is not easily abstracted. So the hydroxide ion induced rearrangement is not possible in that case. So you need a strong base here, such as amide in the liquid ammonia can be used. And when the rearrangement takes place, then instead of the 1-2 shift, when the 1-2 shift takes place, you call it a Stevens rearrangement. Here 3-2 sigma tropic rearrangement takes place, which is called as the Somlet-Hauser rearrangement. So it is actually a variation of the Stevens rearrangement, Somlet-Hauser rearrangement, when you do not have a beta carbonyl group. So the alpha hydrogen cannot be just extracted by the presence of hydroxide ion. And in place of the 1-2 shift, a 3-2 sigma tropic shift is obtained. So this nitrogen is simply attached at this position going here. The sigma bond is shifting from at the 3-2 position here. So this is Somlet-Hauser rearrangement. The mechanism is you need a strong base here, so we are using an amide in the ammonia. This NH2, the amide group attacks on the hydrogen and it abstracts the proton. Now, finally, the negative charge is developed over the carbon, so it becomes electron rich, and this now attacks on the ortho position. And now this is attached along with the nitrogen atom here, and the one methyl group is left behind. So, in this manner, after the final rearrangement, you get a product like this. So simply what has happened here, a sigma bond that is initially present here, it is shifted at this position. So there can be a competition between the Steven and Somlet-Hauser rearrangement mechanism also. Uh, and that depends entirely on the type of substituent present on your substrate. Then we have Wittig rearrangement, and here the ethers undergo 1-2 sigma tropic rearrangement in the presence of strong base such as amide ion or phenyl lithium to give a more stable oxyanion. So the mechanism is analogous to that of the Stevens rearrangement, but this is a 1-2 sigma tropic rearrangement. So ethers are involved here, and this R dash group is changing its position and coming on the carbonyl carbon, and this H is coming on the oxygen. So this type of reaction takes place in the presence of alkyl lithium compounds, and R can be any of the groups mentioned here. So let us see the mechanism. So this is the mechanism. We have RHOR, and in the presence of the methyl lithium, first what happens, the proton is abstracted and we get a negative charge over the carbon, so we get the electron rich carbon here, and the lithium monopositive ion is formed. Now the R group attacks on the negatively charged carbon, and finally what happens, uh, this type of ions are formed, and when the hydrolysis is performed, you get the LiOH, the Li is removed from the anion, and finally you get the alcohol at the end. Then we have a Favorowski rearrangement, and this is a characteristic of the alpha haloketones, which with the base which afford the enolates, which rearrangement to give the esters via cyclopropanones. So you have alpha haloketones at alpha position to the carbonyl group. You have a halo group attached, and when the rearrangement takes place, the Favorowski rearrangement, Now, what you get after the rearrangement, you get an ester on the intermediate formed is cyclopropene. This is the mechanism. This is your alpha haloketone, and when the OR group, the methoxy group is attacking on the hydrogen, removing the hydrogen, generating the electron-rich carbon, and now the rearrangement is taking place like this. The negative charge is moving throughout the molecule, results into the formation of cyclopropenones as an intermediate, and finally, when the reaction is completed, the charge settles down and by the extraction of proton from the base, and finally what you get a substituted ester here. The direction of the ring opening of the cyclopropanone, it is determined by the most stable carbanion. So you can see that this is the secondary carbanion, right? So this would be the most stable. So if you have at one of the R position, if you have hydrogen attached, then in what direction the cyclopropanone will break, it depends on the stability of the more stable carbanion formed in the reaction. So this is a question from today's quiz. For each of the following observation, you have to find out. You have to explain the observation, like the cis and trans 1,2-dimethyl cyclohexanone, cyclohexane 1,2-diol. It gives different product on treatment with concentrated sulfuric acid. So why these two type of products are formed? Then in the phenol rearrangement of this compound, a phenyl group migrates in the former case, but a methyl group migrates in the latter case. We have to explain it. These are the two questions from today's lecture, and here are the references which I used for preparing this lecture. So, by this manner, we have completed molecular rearrangement reactions in the organic chemistry. Although these reactions are very vast and their mechanism can be discussed in a real detailed manner, but I have tried myself best to complete them into lectures. So, that is all from my side for today. Thank you so much.